I really want to begin by asking you how this year has been a wild ride, to say the least, for a lot of people. And because of the work that you do with a lot of artists, I think you're in a very vantage position to talk about how art has been impacted severely by the pandemic and by COVID. So, my question to you is how has everything changed? I know you do a lot of work with Mac, with your Wanderfest as well, and you put up a whole lot of events around the city. How has your work changed?
Um, I'm not driving a lot to my different gigs, so gas has changed a lot on my end.
Okay.
Um, in terms of programming with my company called Let's Make Good Productions, we went at it full force when the lockdown happened in March. I decided to do quite as um, active as yourself. I decided to do 2 shows a week
Okay.
and and then have like 3 artists per show on Instagram. And then throughout the time, I found that it was a cool way to get in touch with people outside of my area. And so it was now called the World Stream series.
Uh-huh.
So I could find people, and like you've done the same too. We find people from all over the world pretty much. Like we have the world as our playground now,
Yeah.
which is really cool. And what I've noticed, like I don't want to be repeating too much. Um, Throughout the time of the pandemic, the the events got smaller, so and more in depth in terms of having one artist. It went from 3 artists in a week, 3 artists twice a week, to once a week, then once a month. And it was because we're on the screens way too much. Like I think I'm online shopping way too much too. Like and I watched so many things on my phone that it was like a step. I had to step away from it, to be honest. Our last show was in October, and I took November and December off. However, the interaction, and tell me if you feel the same way too. The interaction with the artists is still the same, even though I can't hug you, I can't hug my friends, and like we don't have that like really close connection, less than 6 feet. There's still this really cool energy with
Yeah, for
creative,
sure. For sure.
and this is why I'm like, oh wait, FA, anytime, anything you need. I just want to be in your bubble of creativity. Because I had the last show that I did, it was a friend from Montreal, a friend from New York, and then someone who she lived in Toronto but is now in Australia.
Okay.
And just the vibe that we all had, we all left like, oh my gosh, I really needed this today. Or someone hadn't gigged in so long and they're like, I really needed this. And
Yeah.
even though we don't have that interaction again with the audience, it was more to do with an exploration in ourselves.
Uh-huh.
You know, we're giving our we're being vulnerable and showing our creativity
Uh-huh.
in a space where, we, for me being introvert, I don't have to worry about what other people are doing. Like, are they laughing at me? Are they talking about me? Like, I don't see anybody. Like, this
Yeah.
is the best way to perform in a
Uh-huh.
introvert, as an introvert saying it. But I went on a tangent. I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. No, I know we've talked about this before, but how quickly did you know that you had to, switch to go online when things started to close up? Like, what was that moment you decided that you were going to move online? I just want to know what informed that decision, because not a lot of people jumped on board as quickly as you did. So how did you arrive at that decision?
It was pretty quick. So with the lockdown happening for us in March, prior to that, I had shows booked in February, some that I was running that were canceled. And so I was like, oh, well, that's too bad. Like, and I love putting on shows.
I know. I know.
I love, I love control, really. Um, and then so in April 7th, I believe, like it was the first week of April, that's when we went live. We went on Instagram. I felt like it was the easiest way. Facebook didn't have that opportunity to have the dual screens.
Yeah.
And then through that, like like we were all trying to figure out this thing. How do we stay relevant? And that's actually the biggest reason why I decided to go and do 2 shows a week. It was to cater to different time zones.
Yeah.
And it was just because I wanted our company to stay relevant. And then through the process, I was doing a lot of this work, and then the live stream got really saturated, and then I thought, like, maybe I'll just hang back and stay relevant in a way that's important, and a way that will change, rather than just being another platform for, like, live music.
Yeah.
How can I make this show different from like everything that all the things on the news feed that we see?
For sure.
So I'm still thinking about it, but I'm hoping, like, we get back out there where we can have more interesting shows.
Absolutely, absolutely. And it wasn't just people who were organizing, like yourself and a bunch of other people who had done like open mics before the pandemic hit. You found artists starting to get into the vibe of putting on shows by themselves and having like a weekly schedule. What, in your estimation, do you think facilitated that move for artists to find ways to keep expressing themselves? I've always found that curious that, if you're in the open mic scene, that, you show up at the venue, and even if there's 2 people there, you get to play. And, that's kind of like, what happens in the underground. I just want you to speak to the resilience of artists, regardless of all that happened during this phase, if you don't mind.
Yeah, no, I 100% agree. There is resilience. I think there's also, like, because there's this, it's like a performance bug that we all have. we just want to share. Although for me, because I was gigging so much, and also trying to figure out where Arlene is going next for her music, I feel like I'm maturing as a not an adult, but as a songwriter.
Okay.
And being more reflective on the things that I'm doing as Arlene, the singer-songwriter. And so, yeah, I did put on the events, and that was to showcase other people. And because, like, I miss people in general. Like, I didn't realize how much I took people for granted until it was locked down, and I'm like, let me go, kind of thing. So it was like, I guess, in a sense, it was like therapy too. Mm-hmm. Invite people into my online world for like half an hour. We chat, I get to hear their music, and people, I think artists, we create constantly. In July and August, I wrote a song every day, and I'm not going to release them all, but it was just like a challenge I gave myself.
Yeah.
But it doesn't mean, and a good friend of mine said, like, it doesn't mean you have to release everything.
Yeah.
It's like, so that's what I mean by I think I'm maturing as a songwriter. I'm not like throwing like everything at you, like, this is what I just did, blah, blah, blah. But now I'm like, I want to put out really good content, and just like, and like, what am I, where's this thought going? It's pretty much like, I want to make sure that the next album I'm putting out is reflective of where I'm at. I mean, I don't know if you got this time to pause. Now that you have an addition to your life, there's probably like not much pausing. But for me, I felt like it was almost like a reset, or like a pause in my day-to-day of like, I gotta find gigs, I gotta like gig this weekend. Now I just feel like I'm practicing a lot more. I'm writing a lot more, being more creative, and I think that's where my resilience comes in terms of Arlene the songwriter.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, no, sounds good. Sounds good. Now you've been even with that, a lot has happened, and like again, I still find there's resilience. With the Mississauga Music Awards, you still people still went out and put shows together, and so how did that all come about? Because I watched it live, and you guys were fantastic. I just want to, yeah, I want to just to talk about the awards themselves. And I know you were nominated for like a couple of awards. Um, I hear artists say it all the time that it's great to be nominated. But again, I think I just want you to speak to that and how the hosting went.
Sure. So Mississauga Music, I've been involved with them for since pretty much since their fruition, and I've been honored to host the event with Nav Nanwa for the past 3 years.
Okay.
Um, and with that, it was a really cool opportunity. So Demetrius Nath of Maybe May, Matt Zaddy, as you know,
Yeah.
and Kendra Sheree French, they wrote a song called Through Your Eyes, and the goal was to perform this song at the Mississauga Music Awards, I should say, with a whole bunch of Mississauga artists.
Yeah.
It was their version of we.
We Are the World?
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay.
We called, for a while we called it the We Are the World song.
Okay.
Before we knew what it was called.
Okay.
Anyway, so yeah, I got involved with that. I think it's just a matter of being pretty active in the city, and because I just like, I love to do a lot of things. I love control. So I put on my own things, and I'm also involved with a lot of really cool organizations, as you said, Mississauga Music, Mississauga Arts Council. And so hosting that event, it was we've been fortunate to be asked by Demetrius to host that every year.
Yeah.
And being nominated is always, for anything, it's always, like even if I was nominated for like, I don't know, could eat the most poutine in a week, I'd be like, whoa, like any kind of nomination that requires effort from myself. I'm always honored. And this year, it was cool to be nominated again for Best Local Promoter.
Uh-huh.
And then I was very surprised with the Best Live Artist / Band nomination.
Uh-huh.
And the guys that were in that category, I was like, whoa, like you guys, I do this to all of them, and I'm just like this little. I feel like I'm just like this little girl. I'm like, ah. Anyway.
But being a promoter, though, like I think I've said this before. You are a conduit for so many people. Whether you like to, whether you, I still remember the first time I came and performed at your event. It was just so much love and so much respect for what you do, and like I said, a conduit. When you are acknowledged on that front, how does that make you feel that a lot of people are passing through you in order to express themselves, and you position yourself as a force in the arts community?
You know what? I never thought it would end up that way, to be honest. It all started off from seeing a friend from school put on a show. She booked a venue. She charged cover at the door. She asked me to perform. And this is when I was like kind of dipping my foot in the music world. And then I looked at it, and she's like, yeah, I just emailed the venue, charged cover at the door, and asked friends to play. And I'm like, that sounds magical. So then from there, I started to do that. And also, the big reason why I started that was so that I could play.
Yeah.
So like yourself, like we're not only creatives in our art, but we create our own opportunity,
Mm-hmm.
which I think is like the best way to get our stuff out there. And so it just kept going. I was just like, this is fun. Like I get to choose who's on the stage with me. I'm going to choose all my friends that I like to hear play. I'm selfish that way. And I've only just done it so that I could play alongside people that I respect. And then it just started to like, oh, what if we raise money for this? Oh my gosh, we could totally do that. Like some of the covers go to that. What if we just, made a show called Wonder Woman? It's all ladies. And then we made one for Superman, which was all men. And then we not only had music, as you know, we have spoken word and storytelling and visual art and all that stuff, just because the underlying reason why I'm so passionate about performing is because I keep saying I'm an introvert.
Mm-hmm.
Growing up, I whispered when I talked. Like, I found that because of music and the ability to put on these shows has allowed me to be in the forefront and allowed me to be able to talk.
Uh-huh.
Like, I'm still soft-spoken, but, like, it's allowed me to have a say. It's allowed me to have the confidence to email somebody saying, hi, I'm going to be in your city. Do you have anyone I could open for? Or, like, do you have a spot open for this? And it's allowed me to travel all over Canada and got to go to Europe for a little bit and then meet people. I don't know, like, it's a weird, okay, I need to explain this. So music for me gives me that confidence.
Okay.
And putting on events gives me that confidence. There was one time, I don't think many people know this story,
Okay.
but now all you people will. I had a media pass for an event in Toronto. It was a music event, and the media pass was because I was a TV host for Roger's show at the time.
Okay.
And so I was like, I parked in front of the venue, and oh my gosh, Efe, I was like, for 5 minutes, I'm like, should I go out? Should I? I don't want to. I drove by it. It was an outdoor event. I drove by it and saw all the people there. Again, it was a media event, and I didn't think I was media. I didn't think I was legit media.
Wow.
So I drove by like twice, and I saw so many people there. I'm like, I don't know. I don't want to go. Like, and so I finally got out of my car. I went to go line up for like food or a drink or something. I stood in line. I looked around and I left.
Wow.
Like, I didn't want to talk to anybody. It was because I think I was there as a media, like, I was representing something that I didn't, it's not that I didn't believe in, but I didn't feel strong enough to talk about.
Uh-huh.
So like in that example, like, music really does give me this different life, and like putting on shows gives me this different confidence.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just
No.
It happened like maybe 4 or 5 years ago. I totally remember it. Like,
No.
But it's incredible, right? So art, and I think that thread runs across many of the artists that you might encounter, right? People who are more reserved, and when they get on stage, it just blows your mind. Like, you hear artists talk about this all the time. That, oh no, I'm a reserved person, I'm shy, but you see them on stage and they just light up, and it's unbelievable.
it's the adrenaline, I think.
Yeah, yeah.
The love.
No, but thanks for sharing that story, and it's just a reminder that there's power in what we do. There's a lot, yeah, there's a lot of power. You haven't put out anything in a while, so this is not even about you promoting anything at this time, right? So I just want to know. I know that you have slowed down activities for the year and trying to, mature your craft or take your craft in a different direction. But what are you working on? What's Arlene gonna sound like when all of this craziness has gone down? What are we gonna see on the other side?
Oh, it's gonna be so good.
Okay.
I'm so excited, Epic. So my one of my best friends, he plays guitar for me. He's my music director. I've named him my music director very early on in our relationship. He and I are co-writing, and we're doing it in a way that we both have never written with anyone before. Just like, he'll come up with guitar riffs, I'll come up with some guitar riffs, and then I'll just start to sing. And then, like, we don't know, we don't have a deadline. We're actually creating art, like, we're letting it flow through us.
Art that you want. Art
Yes.
that you want to create.
yeah, it's and I'm like I don't want to sound like I'm boasting or anything, but I could write a song really quickly.
Yeah.
Is it good? I don't know. But it can be catchy. Like I found that I'm really good at writing a lot of catchy tunes.
Mm-hmm.
It's because I grew up listening, not aside from Our Lady Peace, my favorite band. I grew up listening to a lot of bubblegum pop, like NSYNC and Britney Spears and stuff. But I also listen to like you can bleep that part out. But I've also listened to like 90s alternative rock. That's what I grew up with the most. And the more that I dive into listening to that music back then and the experimentation of my songwriting now with Kevin, it's reminding me of the songs that I enjoyed listening to and the songs that I'm like, the songs that I've always wanted to write. So I'm excited. And
Awesome.
I think it's gonna be great.
Awesome, awesome. I can't wait because I know that you are an incredible artist. I've watched you perform a ton of times. I am a fan of your music, and most people don't know. I just want to say a quick shout out to everybody who has joined, and even if we didn't promote this stuff, I see a bunch of people in the watching us right now. So shout out to everybody there. But yeah, speaking to your abilities and your creative side, you were one of the first people I had on my podcast when I started that, which I will never ever forget.
Yes.
But
I love that day so much.
I mean,
I love that day.
I'm just excited to hear new music from you. Just the one last thing before I let you go. What is the one thing that you take away from all that has happened so far from this year? I know it's not done, and it feels like with each new day, some crazy stuff tends to happen. And I was talking to a friend of mine. I'm like, the year isn't done yet. There's so many crazy things that could happen yet. But what have you come out with? Like, what's the one thing that you take away from this year?
So far, I think the one thing, like when you first phrased that question, the thing that came up was just like taking more time to enjoy what I'm doing.
Yeah.
I have a really, really bad habit of being like, okay, after I do this, I'm going to do that. After I do that, I'm going to do that. Okay, tomorrow I'm going to do this, this, and this, and this. And then I've learned through this, like it's okay if I slow down, or it's okay if I just breathe a little bit.
Yeah.
Or it's okay if this takes longer than you want it to. Like, because I'm like so action oriented, I always want to make sure like my day is filled. And my mom is very good at, she was the one who taught me to do the most productive thing at every given moment. So I'm always like, okay, I need this to happen, I need this. But what I've learned is that it's with this big pause reset that people talk about, life is still gonna go on.
Yeah.
The creativity will be there. It'll flow even easier for me if I just allow it to. It'll be more fun as opposed to like, oh, I'm anxious because it's not done yet. Like I'm trying to balance that. I didn't realize how anxious and my anxiety is until this year, I think, or last year too. I hold it in my throat, which is very interesting. So when I feel like a little lump in my throat, and I'm not crying or anything, I'm like, oh, what am I anxious about?
Yeah, what
like,
are you getting worked up over? Yeah.
Yeah, I'm like, it's gonna be fine.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that's one of the biggest lessons I have learned. I'm still learning from it. Like I still have to keep reminding. Like I'm glad that you asked me this question to remind myself about it.
Mm-hmm.
I was already this week. I'm like, okay, I've got all this stuff to do. So.
No, but Arlene, I think it wouldn't be an overstatement to say I admire all that you've done, and you still do. I admire your platform and 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 all that you are doing for the city, Toronto, Mississauga, and all the artists that you're bringing together. I really can't wait. Again, I haven't seen you in a long time, but again, I am looking forward to when all of this opens up and we're able to sit down face to face and have this conversation.
Yes, me too.
But I wish for you so much success with your company and all that you're doing, and even the music that you're making. We'll keep an eye out for that, and it'd be great to hear it when it drops. Okay.
Thank you so much. You are such a blessing in my life and in a lot of artists' life. And I just want to thank you on behalf of all of us for this platform and for just showcasing us. And oh, I just can't wait to give you a hug.
You see, and that's why I love you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so
We'll
much.
we'll keep talking and have a great rest of your night. Okay.
Thank you. Stay safe and happy holidays.
You too,
I
and
haven't talked to you before.
thank you to everybody who joined in. We'll see you guys shortly. Okay.